Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Gary Parker. I'm the Associate Dean for External Affairs and Director of the Clark Fox Policy Institute at the Brown School at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. And if you're joining us today, it is Election Day. So we hope that you have voted today or earlier. You know, a lot of people are doing mail-in votes and absentee. We want to strongly encourage you to get involved in the democratic system. It's an exciting day. There are a lot of passionate voices on all sides, and you'll certainly find some of them here as well. So thank you for taking the time for joining us on this very important day in our country. But with the kind of importance comes a lot of stress too. I don't know about you, but I was sharing with Janet and Connie before we went live that, you know, when I voted this morning, I felt really good for about 5 minutes. And then I started to get real anxious about what the rest of the day held in store, about what the results would be, about what may be happening at other polling sites. And, you know, if people are able to vote, if they're not able to vote, if there's suppression happening, like all of these thoughts kind of swirling around in my mind. So I was really so very grateful when that Janet had really the foresight to think about programming for today and scheduled self-care for stressful days. And we'll get to that in just a moment. I did want to share with you that although your cameras and your microphones have been disabled, so we can't see or hear you, but we want you to be a part of today's discussion. So please use the chat feature to send us your questions, your comments. If you want to post resources, and I see folks are doing that already. If you want those questions just to come to us, then just send it to all panelists. If you want to share it with the rest of our over 160 attendees here today, just switch it to all panelists and attendees, and everybody will be able to get your comments, resources, thoughts, questions, etc. I wanted to share with you a little bit of I'll let Janet answer that. We got a few folks. I want to tell you about programming that's coming up, because we've got a lot of really great stuff coming up with Open Classroom. On the 5th, which I believe that's Thursday? Yes, Thursday the 5th, we have Megan Keys coming back. I have now seen her give a number of these Open Classroom talks. They're really terrific. She's going to be talking about pandemic-related stress and disrupted sleep, impacts and strategies. That is definitely one that you want to check out. She's really fantastic, and I know there'd be a lot of really valuable and useful information coming out of that one. And then on November 9th, which is next Monday at noon, if you want to come back, you could see me. I'm giving a talk. I guess it'll be me and Janet here. And I'll be giving a basic introduction on U.S. government and the legislative process. This is part of our policy scholar programs that we have at the Brown School. We have a lot of international students there. They're always interested in what the kind of U.S. government, how it functions, you know, what the bill process is. I promise I'm not going to sing "I'm just a bill," but you know, we will get into all of that. So it's a good refresher if you want basic civics 101, or if you want to kind of better, if you're not from the country or from international, I think you'll find it really useful. And then one more I want to tell you about on the 10th, which is Tuesday, Beyond the Gender Binary. That is going to be a really interesting one. That's an evening program. It'll start at 5 o'clock, and it's sponsored by the Brown School Sexual Health and Education Specialization. All right, I think I've checked off all my boxes. Now I'm going to hand it off to my co-hostess. She's the Director of Professional Development. Give a nice virtual applause to Janet Gillow.
Thanks, Gary. Welcome, everybody. As Gary mentioned, today is Election Day, and there's more than a little bit to be stressed about. But I am just so delighted to be in community with you today, with my good friends Connie and Gary. Just very happy to be here. Share Gary's thought that if you haven't voted, please vote. I shared some phone numbers in the chat. If you experience or witness voter suppression and intimidation, there is help available. I'll share those numbers again in the chat before we leave each other today. But it's my distinct pleasure to introduce my friend Connie Fisher. She's the Director of Mental Health Promotion for Mental Health America, Eastern Missouri. She's a longtime educator of social work students, both within the degree program and professional development workshops. She is a clinician with more than 20 years of experience, so she knows a little bit about managing stress and helping people get through stressful days. Please welcome Connie Fisher.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad everybody voted. This is so great. What a wonderful turnout. I think record-breaking turnout for sure. We are going to talk about stress today. I just want to tell you a little bit about Mental Health America at the beginning here. Our mission at Mental Health America is to promote mental health and improve the care and treatment of people with mental illness, and we do that through advocacy, education, and service. This is one of my education seminars. So we do wellness seminars because we really believe in prevention, that everybody can do something about their mental health. And that's kind of what we're going to be looking at today. Also, we do go to Jeff City and Washington, D.C. because we're part of a national Mental Health America, and we fight for people who can't fight for themselves and try to get laws passed or not passed that are going to affect people with a mental illness. If you live in the St. Louis area, we do have two programs, a Bridges program. This is a peer-to-peer education program where one of our staff who lives with a mental illness teaches people with mental illnesses to take better care of themselves. And she has a 5-week and 10-week program. She can teach them to become teachers, and they can get a stipend salary from that. It's a statewide program. She always reaches 200% of her goal, which really kind of makes me mad because I never reach 200% of my goal. But anyway, then we also have a representative payee program. This is a program for people who are 18 and older, who are on disability for a mental illness, who want to stay independent but can't seem to pay their bills responsibly. What happens is their disability check gets deposited with us and we pay their bills. We have about 165 people in the program. We're ramping up to 180. 2 people run the program. You can imagine paying 180 people's phone bills, electric bills, gas bills, but often this is the first time they're off the streets and into permanent housing. It's a really great program. They do have the patience of saints and are really good at what they do. Our couple of things on the website, just really helpful, brand new website, easy to navigate, is free screenings. So free screenings for mental illnesses or disorders. They take like 5 minutes to take. They include things like anxiety disorder, depression, bipolar disorder, PTSD, eating disorder, alcoholism, ADHD, just several of them. You can print your score. If you score high, it's going to prompt you to seek treatment. And you can take your printed score to your doctor. We're finding that people who take that printed score to their doctor have a 40% higher chance of getting treated for the disorder. So really a cool thing. Also, some help for prescriptions on the website. So if you know anybody struggling paying for prescriptions, there's all kind of contact information for companies that help with that. And also a way to search your local pharmacy in the St. Louis area, at least for who has your medication the cheapest. So just go check that out. Really cool things on that website. That's my little infomercial about Mental Health America. I'm going to move right along. I'll give you some contact information for me at the end if you're interested in it. So we are going to talk about stress, and I just like people to write quickly into the chat box. What are some of your stressors right now? Just like bullet points. Don't give me like novels, okay?
Connie, would you like me to reflect some of that back?
Yes,
or,
yes,
okay,
please.
So we've got working from home, balancing school, the election and health, parenting, the election and human rights, catastrophizing, parenting, this election, going back to work or school, school, the election, climate, family relationships. We've got like 40 responses.
Okay, so that's generally it. Okay.
These
so what I want you to
are flying in. It's
okay.
Really, I've not seen the chat feature go this. There's a lot of stress.
Okay, there's a lot of stress. I had a couple of weeks ago somebody say their 7-year-old fired them as their at-home teacher. So yeah. I know people are under a lot of stress. These are pretty common things that I hear a lot when I do this seminar. So I like to point out what is stress, because it's really kind of a misunderstood term. A lot of people think it's just emotional, but this is my favorite definition. Our physical, emotional, and mental response to any perceived threat. Perceived is really important here. I'm going to talk a lot about that. Real or imagined. Okay, so it affects your mentalness, your way of thinking. It affects your emotions. It affects your physical body. we're in a pandemic, people. We need our physical body to be really healthy. And we're going to talk about what you can do about that to keep your immune system up. Okay. So we know, and this is probably nothing new to anybody that's listening, but when we go into stress, we go into a fight or flight response. So a fight or flight response was designed to physically fight your enemy or physically flee from your enemy. So it's an increase in everything: blood pressure, heart rate, breathing rate, your pupils dilate, a couple of hormones kick in. Cortisol is known as the stress hormone. We're going to talk a lot about that today. And then norepinephrine and epinephrine are what most of us know as adrenaline. So it's kind of like this. Okay. And so it's an increase in everything. If we exaggerate this fight or flight response to an imagined fear, we get a panic attack. That's all a panic attack is: an exaggerated fight or flight response to a perceived threat. Now, the nice thing about the stress response is that you can reverse it. And this is something I like to teach right from the get-go. I hope everything I teach you today, you can leave this seminar immediately putting these things into action. So the first thing you need to do to kick in your parasympathetic nervous system that calms that stress response down is to breathe correctly. So again, we're shallow chest breathing when we're stressed, but that's because it's designed to fight our enemy or flee from our enemy. By the way, almost everything you listed in that chat box is not something you need to physically flee or physically fight. Okay, so it's kind of like energy you may not need to use. So the way to reverse it is to breathe correctly. So a correct breath is belly out, not the doctor deep breath. So I don't want to see this. If you can see me, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see shoulders bouncing up. Okay, that is not a correct breath. In fact, it will actually make you dizzy. If you've ever been at the doctor where they keep telling you to take that breath, you start to get lightheaded. It's because you're getting a shallow chest breath that's only going to the middle of your chest. In order to reverse this fight or flight response, you have to breathe from the belly. So everybody do a fast yawn for me. See how your belly went out? That's a natural deep breath. Okay. If you yawn, everybody else will yawn. Everybody will calm down. And well, I guess over 100 of us will know exactly why. Okay. So if you can't remember this, that's what you can do. But what I want you to do is we're gonna breathe in for a count of 5. We're gonna hold our breath for a count of 5. And then we're gonna breathe out and spell the word peace, as in peaceful, not piece of cake. You need to spell the word out loud or you won't get the air out of your body, okay? So ready? Breathe in, belly out, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, P, E, A, C, E. Breathe out a little farther. If you do 3 sets of those, you will reverse the fight or flight response. You will also reverse a panic attack. If you go right back into what if thinking, what if this, what if that, you will go right back into fight or flight because the brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined fear. It still goes into that even if you're just imagining it, okay? So I have 2 rules about what ifing. You can also put this into practice real quickly. No what ifing, really hard to do, okay? The other one is answer the question. Once you answer the question, and it's preferable that you answer it in writing, you will find you calm down immediately. You know, what if I can't pay my bills? Well, then I'll pay partial payments, I'll borrow, I'll call the company and start to negotiate. Once I have a plan in place, I don't need to just loop in the, what if I can't pay my bills? What if I can't pay my bills? What if I can't pay my bills? And the reason we want to get this process under control is the cortisol. It drops the immune system when it's in your system too long. So we want to control that as much as we can, okay? So know what ifing or answer the question in writing, preferably. Breathing, belly breathing, okay? If you have little kids, by the way, and you want to teach belly breathing or you're working with children, you want to do, go to YouTube and get Elmo belly breathing. Elmo has a whole song about belly breathing. You can also use bubbles. Bubbles is a really good tool, and adults can use bubbles too. But you tell the children that you want them to blow the biggest bubble they can, and it has to be a wand. So they take it and they go, big deep breath, okay? And because they're focused on the bubble in the now, they're not anxious. So when we get anxious, it's always in the future. What if is always in the future. So we have no control over the future, which immediately creates anxiety. But when you come back to the present moment with your breathing and you're focused on your breathing or you're focused on blowing the bubble, you will immediately calm down. It's the quickest tip for anxiety disorders, which was one of my areas of expertise. So quickly, we want to breathe. We want to remember to breathe. The more you practice this, the better you get at it. Okay, so I practice it at stoplights. You got about 3 minutes at stoplights. You can do some deep breathing. When you do your 3 rounds, you can stop. You don't have to do it the whole time. And some people are doing this with hand washing. Okay, since we're all washing our hands, you can do your deep breathing while you're washing your hands. If you are sighing or if you are yawning, you probably need a deep breath. Okay, just a little tidbit, 80% of us hold our breath when we read our emails. This was in Arianna Huffington's book, Thrive. It was an IT person, I think from IBM, maybe back in the day, who did research on this. 80% of us hold our breath when we read our email. What creates the fight or flight response, people, creates cortisol in your system. So just a post-it on your computer that says breathe, good technique. I don't know about you, but sometimes I get novels for emails. You could die reading your emails if you're holding your breath. So let's just not do that. Okay. So I'm going to talk about how it affects different areas. So when we're stressed, it causes some physical problems. Allergies, this has been my allergy season. They're really bad when you're stressed. This almost all has to do with cortisol. High blood pressure, heart attack, and stroke, we've known for years are associated with stress responses. Part of that is if you think about the stress response is increasing everything, particularly blood pressure, and you already have high blood pressure or heart disease, you can see why that would lead to stroke or heart attack. Migraines, we've known for years is correlated with stress. If you're not managing your stress, your migraine symptoms will probably be worse. Arthritis, because of the cortisol causes inflammation, is going to be worse when you're stressed. And diabetes, you can be exercising and eating right, but if you are not managing your stress, your blood sugars are going to be all over the place because of the cortisol. So this is why it's important to do this. And I am going to talk about stress management toward the end, so don't be like, so what do we do about it? Okay, it's coming. Mentally, when we're stressed, we tend to be pessimistic in our thinking process. Kind of doom and gloom. It's real easy to do that. All you have to do is watch the news, right? Or preoccupied. You can't stop thinking about something. You have racing thoughts. Your thoughts jump from thought to thought to thought to thought, okay? Without completion. Difficulty making a decision. So, you know, you've worked all day, you've helped kids, and then somebody says, what's for dinner? And you're like, I don't care. I don't want to make dinner. Somebody else decide. It's that kind of thing. Sleep problems. You sleep too much or you can't sleep. You know which one you are. I always like to point out, because people think sleep's an option. It's not an option. Sleep is so important to your mental health that it is one of the first symptoms of mental illness. Okay. Not sleeping, anxiety disorder. Not sleeping, not able to concentrate, ADHD. Not sleeping, sleeping too much, depression. Not sleeping for days, a manic episode. Sleep pattern reversed, Alzheimer's. Now, I'm not saying not sleeping is going to cause that, but what I am saying is it's so important to your mental health. It's like fundamental to your mental health. You can't just not do it. It's not an option. You need sleep. Thought distortion. You spilled your coffee on yourself this morning and the whole day is going to be bad. Okay. You've just kind of distorted everything to an extreme. So that all or nothing, black and white kind of thinking fall into this category. And then memory loss. And with stress, the memory loss is mostly short term. What did I come in this room for? What was I about to say? Who's that guy in that movie with the thing, with the thing? If you start talking like that, like I do sometimes, you don't have Alzheimer's, you're stressed, you have some short-term memory loss. And this is again caused by cortisol in the hippocampus. It seems to kill the hippocampal cells. And that's where a lot of short-term memory is stored. Now, the good news is in humans, those do grow back when the stressor's over, okay? And the better you manage your stress. I also like to point out here that pessimistic thinking, preoccupation, difficulty making a decision, sleep disturbance, and thought distortion are all symptoms of depression. So if there is a diathesis stress model of mental illness, diathesis means genetic predisposition and stress is stress. So if you inherited, let's say, the genetic predisposition for depression, and you don't manage your stress or you get enough stress, and all of us are in enough stress right now, it turns the gene on, and once the gene's on, it's on. If you're not managing your stress and you have a mental illness or a disorder like depression or anxiety, your symptoms will be worse. If you're managing your stress, your symptoms will be better. Okay, so all around, managing your stress is good for your mental health. We also tend to lead with one emotion, okay, when we're stressed. None of these is better than the others. It's just a way for you to start to recognize, oh, I'm getting stressed, okay? Anger. This is my husband's lead. I could always tell when he was working. Now he's retired. If he was having a bad day, I'd call him and he'd answer like this, "What?" And he knew it was me, right? It wasn't about me. That was his lead for I'm having a stressful day. I tend to be more anxious and worry. That's that ruminating kind of worrying, not in a clinical sense, but just the everyday worry and anxiety that we all have. And then there's people that just acquiesce, just kind of hopeless, whatever, whatever. And you almost accept things as what we're all calling now the new normal, right? You can do all three, by the way. You can do all three, but you tend to lead with one. One comes out first for you, and that's a way for you to start to go, okay, I'm getting stressed. I need to put some of my stress responses into place now. I'm going to stop here and see if there's any questions in the chat or any comments that we need to pay attention to.
So the one question that's come up several times is, are you okay sharing these slides?
I'm not allowed to share the slides, but I am okay sharing the recording.
Okay.
That way they can look at the slides again. So
perfect. So we'll post this on YouTube. It'll be available within a couple of hours, and you can take notes, grab screenshots, whatever you need to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I think we're good to go.
Okay. So some situations are inherently stressful. It doesn't matter what you do. And I think we know we're in like a perfect storm of these we were talking about earlier. So we have COVID, we have the election, we have the economy, and we have social justice issues that are, real important right now and really heightened in our awareness. So we have all these things happening at the same time. This is really hard to juggle stress-wise. So what we often don't have control over things that cause our stress, but we have control over our response to them. And this is really important. And there's a tiger here for a reason. Let me explain my tiger story. So this little girl is talking to Aunt Sally, and she says to Aunt Sally, "Aunt Sally, imagine a tiger walks in the room. He's growling at you, he's pawing at you, he's got you in the corner, he's about to take a big bite. What would you do?" And Aunt Sally goes, "I don't know. What would you do?" And the little girl says, "I'd stop imagining." Right? Imagining. So 85%, and this is research-based, this research has been repeated and keeps coming up with this stat. 85% of what we worry about never happens. 85%. I'm going to be 67 on Thursday. I don't have time and energy to worry about stuff that's not going to happen. I got enough stuff to worry about that is going to happen, right? So think about what you're talking yourself into and your perception. Your perception makes a difference because remember I told you the brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined fear, and it will still go into this stress response if you imagine that tiger walks in the room or if that tiger walks in the room. The difference is if the tiger walks in the room, you've got the energy to fight and flee. But if it's not in the room, you've just kicked cortisol in for no reason, okay? So watch your perception. What are you telling yourself? How are you talking to yourself? And with COVID, for example, are you saying, this is never going to end, it's always going to be this way? Or are you saying, I have to wear a mask for now? At this time, this is how I take care of myself. So putting it into perspective of the current situation and not forever is really going to change how you perceive this stress response and what you can do and how okay you stay during this response. So think about your perception. It really makes a difference. There's good stress. We always forget to talk about this. It's called Eustress. Good stress does create some fight or flight, but also kind of is something that makes us get going and also has a benefit. For example, a new job is stressful, but you're glad you got it. It's just stressful to learn the new job, right? Having a baby is stressful. Getting married is stressful. Graduating from college is stressful, but it's also good. Almost all good stress is related to relationships. Relationships turn out to be one of the best things for our mental health. It makes us live longer, healthier, and happier according to the positive psychology research. So connecting to others. Now, right now, we have to really make an effort to connect to other people. Okay, so it's really important. Good stress, increasing it actually helps your bad stress. So something to think about. Acute stress is what most people think of as stress. This is something that happens that needs a quick response, but once you're done, it's done. It's a monkey off your back. So think about your kitchen sink is leaking all over your floor this morning. Once you get a plumber in there to fix it, it's done, okay? The problem is we humans like to postpone things when we can. Let's say you got a slow leak in your tire and you keep postponing fixing it. And every time you drive, you go, is that a thump, thump, thump? Is that a thump, thump, thump? Am I going to make it? Am I going to make it? Am I going to make it? Right? You just created stress. This is really similar to starting, leaving late and then being mad at the car in front of you because you're late, right? So if we just take care of it, monkey off our back. But when we postpone, it becomes a chronic stress. And this is the dangerous one. Chronic stress is ongoing everyday stress. And this does include, by the way, social injustice, discrimination, traffic, COVID right now, lots of things, political climate, all these things. And this is the one where the cortisol is in your system for too long, and this drops your immune system. And when you drop your immune system, you get whatever germ is out there, whatever you've been exposed to. We do not need an immune system drop right now. We need it up and functioning really well. So we need to get rid of our stressors as quickly as we can and watch our perceptions. So some things to do. Do I still have time? It's like I'm running out of time here. We okay? Okay. Increase your good stress. So set a goal. That's a challenge for you. Could be a marathon, could be getting a degree, could be taking a class, could be, exercising every day. Anything simple. Again, relationships, anything connecting to people is going to be really good. And that you do have to make an extra effort right now. And I do recommend that you connect to people in a way you can see them. We were talking about how important 75% of communication is nonverbal. Those emojis are not cutting it. I'm just telling you, people. And we need that facial contact because we haven't had it in so long, okay? Focus on your outlook. Back to the tiger story. Really watch what you're saying to yourself. Change that and correct that. Look for the hidden potential benefit in a bad situation. What am I supposed to be learning here? If you've ever asked that question, you're doing that. If something keeps happening for me, I start to go, okay, this has happened 3 times. I must need to learn some lesson here. What am I supposed to be learning? And then remind yourself of your strengths. Maybe you're really good at the big picture. Maybe you're good at the detail. Maybe you're patient. Maybe you're very kind. What is your strength that you can use to cope with stress? Because you could also use that for yourself. Oh, maybe I could look at the big picture for myself. Maybe I could be very kind to myself and compassionate. What can I do there? These are some things that research-based we just know work. Start a journal. Biggest problem with journals is people tell themselves they have to do it every day, and you really don't. You can just journal when you're having a difficult time. You can journal when you need to dump emotions. When you get it out of you on paper, you actually become a little mindful and you become the observer of your thoughts and feelings. And this gives you some space to figure out what you need to do to change things. It can also be a really nice growth chart. You can look back at a journal and see, oh, look at what I was worrying about that never happened. And oh, I used to do this and now I do this. Set aside time for yourself. This is something I have to have. And if I don't get it, I take it in the middle of a conversation. You ever done this where you're talking to somebody and they're talking to you and you're like, what have they been saying? Because I haven't been listening for about 5 minutes. Now, because I'm a therapist in the past, I was able to say, so tell me some more about that, which meant I haven't been listening for 5 minutes. So it was a way for me to get back on track on what was going on. But it was also a signal, oh, you didn't get your time for yourself today. You just took it in the middle of a conversation. Go get your time to yourself. Do something you enjoy. Emotional deposits, particularly if you're in a helping profession, so crucial to your mental health. You need to do something you enjoy. It's an emotional deposit so that you can continue to give. And then do what you're going to do with commitment. I learned this at Weight Watchers. Ironically, I went to Weight Watchers for the 2nd January in a row. When you're in a meeting, they pull you back at the end, the new people, and say, here's how the program works. They're pulling me back. And I'm like, you don't need to explain this to me. I've been here before. And the leader looks me in the face and goes, you going to finish? And I was like, whoa, man, hit me in the chest. Finish? No, it's January. I committed to starting. I did not commit to finishing. That was the first thought I had. I didn't know it till she said it. Committing to finish is really different than committing to start. So if you're going to make a lifestyle change, which might be a good time to do that, commit to finishing it. That means you could do it for 3 years. If you can do it for 3 years, it's a lifestyle change, okay? And it's also probably a reasonable thing you're trying to do. Leave early. Don't try to set yourself up for more stress. Create a balanced schedule. I do say no is a complete sentence. You do not have to explain it. Will you make 24 cupcakes for the soccer team? No. Done. Okay. Think about the cost. I lose, 2 hours, my small children, if I make 24 cupcakes when I could buy them. Okay. Don't overcommit. That's part of the no. And plan regular breaks. The research on breaks says that quality of break makes a difference. It needs to be outside for 5 to 15 minutes. We can only focus about 90 to 120 minutes according to research. And then we start making mistakes on what we're doing. So stop, take a 5 to 15 minute break outside, come back. You'll actually get more done if you do that. We all know about these prioritized tasks, break them into small projects. The reasons these are helpful is that it keeps you motivated for the long haul because it kicks in some dopamine every time you finish a small task. If you do a to-do list and you check things off, you've kicked in some dopamine. Woohoo, woohoo, I booked a seminar. If I do that, then I'm kicking in my own dopamine, which keeps me physically, chemically motivated for the long haul, because usually 6 months from now is not quick enough to get motivated for the long haul. Delegate. Sometimes we don't have anybody to delegate to. In a lot of agencies and organizations, we forget to collaborate. You do this really well, and I forget to ask you, how do you do that? Because I don't do that well, and let me show you what I do well. And we forget to collaborate. And then be willing to compromise. You do not have the one right way of doing things. If you do, you'll be doing everything, adding stress. Are we still okay on time? Okay. Don't try to control the uncontrollable. This is called acceptance. Let me explain what it's not. Acceptance is not that you like this, and acceptance is not that it's okay with you. Let's talk about traffic for a minute. How many of you try or talk to the car in front of you? Okay. So does it ever change the traffic? No. So if we accept that traffic in St. Louis sucks, for those of you who are not in St. Louis, it's really bad sometimes. If we accept that, meaning it is what it is, okay, then we can choose our response. And this calms us down immediately versus the trying to push the car in front of us that we have no control over. So a response might be put a podcast on, take an alternate route, turn up your music and sing like a rock star, wait till the traffic's over. All of a sudden, there's like 5 options besides pushing the guy in front of you, right? If you're trying to get somebody to see, get somebody to understand, get somebody to change who doesn't want to, you are not practicing acceptance. Get back into, okay, I have control over my response, which actually is, you'll find a lot more powerful, particularly with children, I'm just going to say. Flip your negative thinking. Easiest way to do that, gratitude. Gratitude is in all the all the articles you'll read on COVID is practice gratitude. Gratitude is really simple to change negative thinking. I always do a lot of things in my car. So I would practice my gratitude list in the car, mute my radio, start my gratitude list. I'm grateful for the love of a good man. I'm grateful my car started. I'm almost weekly grateful for chocolate. Okay. If you want to do a deeper dive on your grateful list, you want to say why you're grateful for those things. Some people do a grateful journal. There's all kinds of ways to do it, but practice gratefulness. And again, some people are doing this with the hand washing also. I'm really anti-perfection. There's no such thing. It's a myth. And perfection by definition means I never make a mistake. That's impossible for humans. What I suggest is excellence. Excellence is I made a mistake. I learned from it. I did better. Think of babies learning to walk. We never say to babies, oh my God, give up. You've fallen 40 times. You're never going to walk. We say, come on, you can do it. This is encouraging self-talk, or what we now call compassionate self-talk. So if you want to let yourself make mistakes and learn from it and keep moving, you need to allow yourself to fail your way to success, just like all babies do when they learn to walk. And then clean up your act here says, take care of those acute stressors so they don't become chronic because you have enough chronic stress. Trust me. This is my last slide. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over the other. William James. So questions? Comments?
So a question came in through the chat on strategies if being stressed about being stressed is how you find yourself spinning, that sort of meta emotion, being overwhelmed by being overwhelmed. Do you have any tactics or ideas how to break that down?
I would calm the body first. I was watching, if you've never seen Brene Brown's podcast and her and her TED Talks, you should go watch her. She's a social worker. But one of the things she was researching these two women, and I'm totally blanking on their names, but they did a book called Burnout. And what they said was you have to finish the stress response to get all the way out of it. So I'm thinking this is part of what's going on with people in that, because they get stressed about being stressed, and then you're kind of in this loop. So I think they said you have to do something physical often, because you could be, they were describing it with doctoral students. You get done with their doctor's thesis and the presentation and it was approved, and they think they're going to the Bahamas and they crash and get really sick. And then she said what they're not doing is working through the physical part of the stress. So doing something physical like walking, running, something that's physical that takes the rest of that response out of your body. And then the other part is they said crying. A good cry will also chemically change you and make you feel better. And the tears that you cry when you're sad are really different than the tears you cry with an onion, chemically, really different, okay? And then also a 20-second hug from somebody you really love and trust and you're safe around right now. So that really makes a difference for most people. Those things are kind of physical, but they are also emotional. They also help us work things through. So I would start with the body, calm the body, do some deep breathing. All the apps right now, people, calm.com, my favorite, Headspace, Insight Timer, I think there's one called Breathe to Relax, have free stuff because of COVID, a lot of free stuff. I would go try them out. And if you've got 3 minutes, calm.com has a 3-minute body scan. And if you've got 25 minutes, they got a 25-minute body scan. So check those out for sure. I think I would lead with the body for that person because their mind's already in their loop. Anybody else? Other questions?
Michelle is wondering, any ideas for people who are dismissive of stress reduction strategies? If someone is, sort of saying it's not going to work if I do deep breathing, how have you overcome resistance in people who clearly needed what you needed to share, but they weren't immediately receptive to it?
We have found people are really receptive to the science part of it. If you explain what happens in the fight or flight response to the body, and then how it needs to calm down and physically what needs to happen and why brain works that way and why, I just think the brain's great. And why the brain works that way and why the body and brain need to work together. We forget mind is housed in the body. They affect each other. They seem to be more responsive that way. And you can also say, well, then let's try it. Let's see if you're right. Let's try it because it almost always works. It's really amazing. So I would start with the science for that cynic. I sometimes, as a therapist, just said, do it anyway. I don't know why that worked, but it did. Any other questions or comments?
Sorry,
I was pretty directive in my style, I'm just saying.
Sorry. So, I mean, the term for the moment we're living in now has been used unprecedented. So many times we're getting tired of the word unprecedented. Mm-hmm. But do you see the stress that people are under as something different than what you've seen at other times in your practice? How is it the same? How is it different?
I think because it's several things at once, it is unprecedented. But I also, when I was in private practice during 9/11, and I saw similar response. And part of what I saw was the constant barrage of repetition. So we almost were creating post-traumatic stress disorder. So people were watching those towers fall over and over and over. I had to say, stop watch the news once a day. And you can trust me, you can take a news fast for a week and they will catch you up next Monday. I mean, really, because they're going to repeat it, right? So if you're getting barraged by it, you need to set some boundaries that keep you okay, and you need to get away from it in a way that's healthy. And that's why exercise is one of the standard treatments for depression and anxiety right now. It does get you away, and that nature break makes a difference, makes a real big difference. Do the things you can that you do have control over. It makes you feel so much better. And then the practicing meditation and mindfulness and being present moment, this is where you have power in the present. The future is all planned in the present moment, okay? And the past is all learned from, and you're making amends and moving on and learning from your mistakes in the present. So the more we stay in the present, the more calm we get. It's just hard for humans to stay there. I mean, if you've driven home and not remembered the drive, you weren't mindful. If you're like me and you're in the shower and your hair's wet and you're like, did I wash my hair? you're not mindful, right? So practice it. It's hard, but it's definitely worth it. I think I answered that question.
You did. We have a question about pets and stress. Is there evidence of pets reducing stress for folks?
I would guess the same thing. Play and exercise would probably reduce pet stress. They are stress relievers for humans. People who pet their cat, there's research on that. They calm down when they pet their cat. And I think that's probably true with all furry animals, that petting them is calming. And animals are, and it's not that they can't get stressed and a little anxious, but they do tend to do more in the now. Oh, there's a person coming up to the door. I need to get really angry and stressed. And then when they're gone, they go back to sleep. Really, and we just don't. We hold on to it. Oh, that person came to the door. That person came to the door. That person came to the door. And that's why our cortisol doesn't go back down.
So we have a question about, I guess, what you could say, difficult people. What if you can draw a really nice dotted line between your stress and someone else's recurrent behaviors? What suggestions do you have about minimizing somebody else's power to stress you out, or how to preserve self when a relationship is maybe not the easiest one for you?
I don't know the specific thing that the person's stressing them out about, so I'm just going to give a general answer, but I would say boundaries. You get to decide under what conditions you listen to something. So I'm willing to listen to you tell me that one more time if you're going to tell me what you're going to do about it. Otherwise, I'm not willing to listen to you one more time because I've listened to it 5 times. Whatever the issue is setting a boundary, and your boundary needs to be about what you have control over, not them. So if you're trying to get them to be different, less stressed, that's not going to work. But if you decide how you respond, given that they are stressed in a exaggerated way or whatever, then you can decide how you respond. So I would still go back to where you have control, and choose your response, and then maybe set some boundaries under the conditions you're around that.
It is interesting. We have somebody that's sharing that in their house, someone's always watching the news, and that is stressing them out. And they want to know, like, how do I, better engage in, and letting them know. Maybe we should do one on relationships, Janet, because it sounds like we can do an open classroom on some of the mediating relationships.
Yeah. And I would definitely say you could have a family meeting, say, let's have a family rule that we're only going to watch the news, blah and blah, or one time a day. And if you want to watch it more, then you need to watch it on your own device in your own room. Because you can, again, set boundaries about that, because you're starting to affect me. I don't have the control to move somewhere else. So could we come up with an agreement that we can reach? And it's just an assertive line in the sand, not an aggressive one, not intruding on them. They can still watch it. They just can't watch it in a place where it's public.
Right.
I think that's a great idea. That there's lots of relationships that are under more stress than ever.
Oh, yeah.
With lots of time together, and everybody going through their own storm together. Challenging.
Differently, yeah.
So that actually, I can make a segue.
Okay.
That sounds like a familial or an intimate partner relationship. What about in the workplace? Do you have any suggestions, anything you want to model for us or lead us through about if you were a leader of a work team and you're trying to ratchet down the stress for your team? This moment is making many of us feel tightly wired into a digital universe that we are responsive to 24/7. And what suggestions do you have, both as far as modeling practice, and then even when you bring your group together, how you can encourage them to be a little less stressed?
So I've heard a lot of people starting meetings with grateful lists. So I think that would be one way. You could do a meditation at the beginning or end of a meeting. You can also make it free. A lot of companies and agencies are doing like a room where you can go to the calm.com app on this device in this room and actually meditate by yourself or in a group. So those would be some things. Then also, again, back to boundaries. I found a lot of people stress in work is this perfectionism. I got to get it done. I got to get it all done. And almost everyone's doing three people's jobs. Let's get real. You're not going to get it done. And if you're at home, you're really not going to get it all done. So what can you do? So some people are doing boundaries around their emails, particularly I'm talking about management. If you have a lot of people working under you who are constantly emailing you. I worked with a woman who was head of an IT department of a big company, and she got 100 emails a day, and she was a perfectionist. She wanted to answer all of them, and then she couldn't do her job. So what we did was we triaged her. We had everybody else triage her email. She said, if you need my decision, put decision in the subject line. If you need, if you're just reporting, put reporting in the subject line. If you're, need to run something by me, tell me how long. And her email was triaged before she opened it. So that really helped her right away. She also said, I'm getting 100 emails a day. It may take me a couple of weeks to get back to you. So if it needs my decision, you need to say that. Also, she was in a queue and people would just stop by to chat, which is good. It's a good part of working together, but it also can be intrusive if you're trying to get something done. So she put a sign on the outside of her cube at certain time of the day. I may look like I'm here, but really from 3 to 5, I am not here. I'm trying to get some deadlines done. What she noticed was those signs started showing up on everybody's cubes. So everybody was feeling that. And then the rest of the time, I do want to hear how your weekend went. I do want to hear about the Cardinals. I do want to hear about your dog, so that they had that social time, because that is important. Okay. So those would be just a little tips. Anything else?
So what about for parents that are trying to coach their kids in stress management at this strange time? It's hard to impose some of the limits on, say, screen time. Hard to encourage some of the activities that were constructive previously. But for kids that are feeling stressed or anxious, what suggestions do you have for parents?
I would do some of the same things. I would do the apps, all the apps I talked about have sections for kids, relaxation tips for kids, meditations for kids. So and the whole family can meditate at the same time. I might do it differently. With kids, it's probably going to be a little more guided than just quiet meditation. Although teaching kids to meditate's just been amazing in the St. Louis City schools. There's a cool YouTube video called The Glitter Jar, I think it's called. And this is the little girl talking about her anger, and she made a glitter jar, water with glitter in it. And she shakes it up and she goes, this is me angry. See all that anger floating around? She goes, now if I just breathe, all the glitter falls to the bottom and I calm down. And that's how she talks. And so it's just a good little, you could have them make a glitter jar. You could do this with them. Let's talk about our breathing. Let's go back to our breathing. A tool they'll use their whole life, a really good tool. So I would definitely use the apps that are out there. I think some screen time, because that's the only way they're talking to each other. I think that you might want to make some of that a little more okay than usual. Maybe you want to talk about how they're screening. Maybe if they're talking to each other versus always playing a game, what are they doing? And also let them give some input. What do you need to manage your stress? What would make you feel better? Buy-in's really important.
So I just want to let folks know we have just a few more minutes for questions, so continue to send them. Connie, there's a question coming in about stress eating, and it is making me think that that's not the only kind of counterproductive behavior that people engage in when they're stressed. It could be smoking, it could be drinking, it could be lots of things.
Right.
What do you recommend to help folks kind of steer away from that kind of stress-induced behavior?
I think before you eat, you could ask yourself, what are you really hungry for? If you've eaten in the last 2 hours a meal, you're probably not hungry. Mm-hmm. So, what are you really hungry for if it wasn't food? Are you hungry for a vacation? Are you hungry for some private time? Are you hungry for some new things? Are you bored? What is it you're hungry for? Because if you try to fill an emotional need with a physical substance, you will be left hungry and you will keep eating. Okay. Also, you could just choose different things to eat. You can still eat. You could just choose different things to eat. Grapes and carrots are totally different than chocolate that we all got from Halloween the other day, right? So deciding, what things you're going to eat. You could also get on some kind of food plan and exercise plan, which is going to make you feel better all around anyway. And if you want to eat that thing, it's better if I took my walk this morning if I'm eating that cupcake in the afternoon than if I eat the cupcake and go, oh, I should have walked. And now I got to walk. And now walking becomes punishment for eating versus exercising and feeling okay, right? So I think I would do that. Drinking I know a lot of people drink wine and are okay, and that's fine. But most people's wine glass, by the way, is 2 wine glasses, just so you know. People aren't really pouring a real pour. And it's a depressant. You're already kind of depressed. If you're depressed, you do not need a depressant, even if it's alcohol. If you're taking an antidepressant, you might want to think about, am I drinking an antidepressant and taking an antidepressant? Drinking a depressant and taking an antidepressant. Is that really working for me? So thinking about that, and then what else could I be doing that would still feel good to me and give me the relief? But you have to not do the thing to find that answer. If you're doing the thing, if you're eating and then trying to answer that, you won't get an answer. But if you stop before you eat or before you drink or before you do whatever you're doing to excess, then you'll come back to the answer and it'll be easier to find out. So compulsions take us away from a problem, but now we got that problem and the original problem. So it's not really a good solution.
So we have some discussion in the chat about glitter jars, and I want to make sure that we give you an opportunity to recommend if there's a particular video on glitter jars that you like, or just that people might.
It's just a little girl, and she's talking about her glitter jar. It's on YouTube. I don't know what it's officially called. I think it's called the glitter jar, but there might be more than one. But she's just talking about it, and it's kind of a close-up of her face, and she's shaking her jar. So, and it's like a baby food jar, with glitter and water in it. They could make that, and then you could talk about calming with your kids. It could be a project or a class as their health class, mental health class.
So I think we're about to time for one more question. Somebody's asking, what suggestions do you have for maintaining positive mood, managing stress for people that are living alone during the pandemic?
I would say connect. I would find a way to connect every day. And I think everybody ought to be doing this. Connect every day to somebody for 15 minutes. And let me put a caveat on that. It needs to be somebody who makes you feel good. So as soon as you get off the phone, you feel good, not somebody you go, wow, I just got kicked for 15 minutes. I don't want you doing that. So somebody who makes you feel good, connect to them. And if you know somebody else who's shut in, call them because they're shut in. I know my aunt is in her close to 90, and her son calls her every day and reads her a chapter from a book. And the book keeps going. And that's his connection to her, because she was stuck in there. And not only was she stuck in there, she could no longer eat with the other people. So she had to eat alone too. And then they do the window thing, go to the window. She doesn't like it, but it's better than nothing. She did escape a couple times, but she did like the books, the idea of the books. That was really helpful to her. So people are getting creative with these connections. Alone is a little harder, although some people would say alone would be better. So it just depends on your situation, I guess.
That's true. Sorry, my dog took this moment to start barking. Not alone. But Connie, thank you so much for this. We've got wonderful feedback in the chat. People really appreciating these tips, these insights, and to spend time together today. Do you have any final thoughts before we close out today's program?
Just remember to do something about your stress. Don't just sit in it. Really take an action. Again, I just want to impress that you have control over your response and what you're thinking, and I would take control there. The other thing I just want to briefly say is we are part of a Show Me Hope, #ShowMeHope crisis intervention program for people who are dealing with COVID, and we have all these phone numbers that people can call. And then I wanted to share my contact information really quickly. If you need to get a hold of me for some reason, you can this is my email address, connie.fisher, Fisher, at mha-em.org. Or if you if you're in the St. Louis area and you need to be connected to a mental health resource, you can call our helpline at 314-773-1399. If you call that number right now, we're remote, but LaDonna Haley or I will call you back. So you actually get a person to call you back, and we'll connect you to a mental health resource. So that's what I got.
Connie, can you go back to that previous slide? A few folks are just asking to take a look at those numbers again.
So
And
go ahead.
Yep, that's it. I was just going to thank you so much again for taking time for us today. And again, this is so wonderfully timed. We know that the next couple days are going to be stressful as we wait for results, which we hope will be sooner rather than later, but there are a lot of unknown variables. So just know to the folks that are joining us here today that this video will be posted on YouTube within the next couple hours. So if you need to watch again and get a refresher, Connie is going to be right there on call at YouTube, ready for you to talk you through this all over again. So thank you, Janet. Thank you, Connie. Please come and join us again at a future open classroom. I mentioned we've got all kinds of great programming. I only mentioned a couple, but we've got programming going, I think, through January. Janet's got it all planned out. And if you have other ideas on programs that you'd like to see, please just email us and we'll do our best to make that happen. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy your day today, and all the best. Thank you.
Breathe and stay in the now.